And that is to see that this defendant never again has the opportunity to walk the streets of our community as a free man.
Hello, my name is Paco Rivera, and this is the Maximum Sentence Channel, where I cover a recent crime and conviction and a maximum penalty handed down. You can also follow me on Facebook for updates. There will be a link to my Facebook in the description below. Some time ago, I told a story during a presentation that I did on this channel about the time that I had to meet with the dean of a community college that one of my daughters was going to begin attending. And after asking the dean of the school a question, her response was, because all teenagers are stupid. And then she repeated it strongly. Teenagers are stupid. Kind of caught me by surprise, but I didn't question it. She was a very rough-looking woman. And those words that she spoke was never more true with regard to the case that I'm going to tell you about today. Now, this is not the first time that I've heard about kids standing on an overpass above a roadway, for example, throwing things, usually rocks, in the cases that I've heard about in the past, at the windshields of cars traveling on the roadway below the overpass. Why do they do this? For what reason? I'm guessing in some cases they do it for fun. Stupid fun. And these stupid kids think it's fun. In other cases, maybe they want to shock or possibly even hurt the driver or front passenger of a vehicle going by. I hate to think that some are actually doing it to kill the driver or passenger, or they don't care if the rock they throw ends up killing someone. But I don't know if that intention is in fact there sometimes. Maybe. Or maybe they don't realize that the rock they throw might kill someone because they are stupid. I remember the comedian Bill Cosby once said during a stand-up show that all teenagers have brain damage. Well, I wouldn't say all. I'm sure there are some good ones out there.
But the reason why the curse works is because all children have brain damage. Well, why did you do it? I don't know. Well, that's brain damage. If you know you're not supposed to do something and you do it, and then people say, why did you do it? You say, I don't know. Brain damage. My parents never smiled because I had brain damage. My wife and I don't smile because our children are loaded with it.
Now, apparently, the case I'm going to discuss involved teenagers throwing rocks at vehicles, but it wasn't from an overpass over the roadway. They were actually in another vehicle, and they would throw rocks at oncoming cars traveling towards them in the opposite direction on the other side of the road. First, let's talk a little about the victim in this case. Her name was Alexa Bartell. Alexa was just 20 years old. Alexa's family provided a statement to the media stating, at 10:45 p.m. on April 19th, 2023, our worlds were forever changed. Our beautiful Alexa was driving in Arvada, Colorado, and was struck by a large rock thrown through the windshield of her car, tragically taking her life. This was not an accident, but instead an intentional act of violence and malice by three strangers. Alexa was an amazing daughter, granddaughter, sister, niece, cousin, and friend. She was an intelligent, kind-hearted soul with a bright future ahead of her. Alexa would do anything for those she knew and loved. This beautiful young life was taken way too soon. Alexa was known to all of her family and friends and co-workers as an outgoing, loyal, loving, compassionate, and energetic girl. Her favorite activities were basketball and music. Alexa would light up any room she walked into and absolutely loved sharing her incredible personality with everyone on TikTok. Alexa was intelligent, funny, and kind to anyone she came into contact with. When she entered the room, she changed the energy and brought light to all she was around. Alexa had a Bible verse tattooed on her arm. Luke 6:27. Love your enemies Do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, and pray for those who mistreat you. Which is why Alexa's family has said that she would have forgiven the people that killed her. On the night of April 19th of the year 2023, about 2 years ago, 20-year-old Alexa Bartell was driving her Chevrolet Spark along a roadway in Arvada, Colorado. Alexa had been talking to a friend on her cell phone at about 10:45 p.m. when Alexa, all of a sudden, stopped talking while in mid-sentence. When the friend got off work about a half hour later, she was worried that she hadn't heard back from Alexa, and she used a Find My Phone or Find My Friends app that connected with friends to locate Alexa's cell phone. She drove to the area and found her friend Alexa in the car off to the side of the road, and she could tell that Alexa had a very severe injury to her head. The friend called 911 and Alexa's mother. Officers with the Broomfield Police Department were the first ones to arrive at the scene. Paramedics arrived and pronounced Alexa deceased. Colorado State Police arrived to investigate, and they quickly determined that the injury was not the result of a vehicle collision. It was obvious to them that the injury was sustained by an object that came through the windshield. In continuing the investigation, officers found a rock on the road that had blood on it, and that blood was later confirmed by a lab to have come from Alexa. But Alexa was not the first to have rocks thrown at her car that night, as investigators would later learn. Another driver along the same roads had reported to police that he couldn't get a good look at the oncoming vehicle because of bright headlights coming at him. But someone threw a rock that smashed through his windshield and struck his shoulder. He said the vehicle was either an SUV or pickup truck, and that the person who threw the rock was either standing through a sunroof or the bed of a pickup truck. As it turned out, investigators found that rock in the man's car, and they were later able to extract DNA samples from 2 different contributors on that rock. Another man driving a car behind the car that was struck with a rock also had a rock come through his windshield. He later reported that he saw when the car in front of him swerved, and moments later his car was also struck. Both cars pulled over to the side of the road to inspect their vehicles, and that second driver also found a rock inside his car on the passenger seat. The rock-throwing culprits, however, were not caught with DNA samples. Investigators had requested a cell phone data dump from cell phone towers closest to the area. That data included GPS tracking and movement, and 11 phone numbers showed up in the system during the time that those 2 vehicles were struck with rocks. And there was only one cell phone that was passing that spot at the exact time as the rock-throwing incidents. Investigators also saw how that same cell phone had passed through the area where Alexa Bartell was killed. That cell phone was registered to a woman later identified as the mother of 18-year-old Joseph Koenig. I'm guessing it was a plan where some or all of the cell phones in the home are registered to her. Investigators also located surveillance camera footage along the roadway and could see a dark-colored pickup truck traveling at a high rate of speed along the same road as the rock-throwing incidents at about the same time that the incidents occurred. That vehicle was later positively identified as a 2016 black Chevrolet Silverado 1500 pickup truck, the same type of truck that Joseph Koenig drives. Even with all the evidence gathering as to who killed Alexa Bartell, the case was sealed when these teenagers did something even more stupid. And thank goodness for that, because at least one of the teens was bragging to a coworker about what they had done, and that coworker notified authorities. As it turns out, there were 3 teenagers involved that were together that night. Joseph Koenig, Nicholas Karol-Chik, and Zachary Kwak. All three, in the year 2023 when this happened, were 18 years old. They are now 20 years old. More witnesses came forward, including one, an acquaintance of the teenagers, who said that he saw the teenagers loading a bunch of rocks into the pickup truck, rocks that they were picking up near the parking lot of a Walmart. Police first arrested Karol-Chik and took him in for questioning, and he confessed to everything that happened. And he said that the person who actually threw the rock was Joseph Koenig, though I'm sure by this point, legally speaking, that didn't matter. All three teens had conspired together that night, and all three are equally responsible for the death of Alexa Bartell and the injuries to the other drivers for that matter. Karol-Chik had also stated that after hitting the car that Alexa Bartell was driving, that Joseph Koenig got back in the driver's seat and turned the pickup truck around to go back to where Alexa's car went off the road. And once there, he took out his cell phone because he wanted to take a picture to keep as a memento. By April 26, 7 days after the murder, all three teenagers were arrested and locked up. Nicholas Karol-Chik and Zachary Kwak both pleaded guilty to murder. Karol-Chik was sentenced to 45 years in prison, and Zachary Kwak was sentenced to 27 years. Both had also cooperated with the investigation by offering their confessions. Joseph Koenig took his case to trial. Big mistake. In April of this year, 2025, he was found guilty. And this month of June, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for a crime that he committed at age 18 and has been locked up for ever since. He will spend the rest of his life in prison. What a waste. Here we see Alexa's mom and dad talking to the media following the sentencing hearing. Alexa's dad referred to Joseph Koenig as a low-life piece of garbage who stole her future, and that he would have given Koenig the death penalty if it were up to him. Apparently, each of the teens had their own lawyer, and each were placing blame at one of the other teens for having been the one who actually threw the rock that killed Alexa Bartell. Newsflash: nobody cares whose hand threw the rock. The three of them were involved in this reckless behavior together. The judicial system does not care who threw the rock. Attorneys for the three men had also argued that they were seniors in high school with nothing else to do, that they had nothing else to do that night, and that they did not intentionally try to harm anyone. Remember what I said at the start of this presentation about teenagers being stupid? Sometimes I think the same can be applied to some lawyers. Something of note, this rock-throwing crime was so horrific that one of the first responding paramedics to check on Alexa Bartell, Nicole Bergerson, stated that she suffered so much trauma from what she saw at that incident that she had to medically retire after 21 years of service. Please remember to subscribe for more of these true crime stories so that you're alerted when the next one comes out. You can also follow me on Facebook for updates. There will be a link to my Facebook in the description below. Thank you for watching. Take care, and bye for now.